Welcome to another episode of 666 Seconds of Murder. I'm here at Horns High Studios. I appreciate you guys coming to check it out. And you know what that means. Each one of these videos is less than 666 seconds or 11 minutes and 6 seconds. So not a lot of time to waste. Let's get to it. Talking Idaho 4 again. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have been hearing and reading stuff about this. And we're going to talk about old Scott Green at the University of Idaho. But remember, important to remember, this is for entertainment purposes only. These are my opinions. These are my personal speculation. I'm not saying anyone's guilty or of anything. That's for a court of law to decide. So we're just talking about a case that interests us. And a lot of us are interested in the Idaho 4. So I'm sure you guys are aware of the book that the University of Idaho president Scott Green co-wrote entitled The University President's Crisis Handbook. A little cocky, right? And it's definitely ruffled some feathers among us in the true crime community that are following the Idaho 4 case. Now, on the surface, it just turns people off, and we suspect that Scott Green wrote the book to kind of capitalize on the Idaho 4 tragedy. I mean, why would a guy who's worth billions do something like that? I mean, it's kind of weird, right? I mean, would anybody buy this book if that had not happened? Probably not. Now, in all honesty, I don't really think that's what's going on here. I mean, the guy doesn't need the money, obviously. But in my opinion, he's kind of creating his own legacy. He wants to be remembered as the guy who saved the university from debt and also the guy instrumental in helping law enforcement find the person who did this crime and successfully putting him in front of a firing squad. I mean, to be blunt, he wants to be the hero. Or is there something else going on here? Good question. Now, I haven't read the book, but one of the members of the Horns High Club, Justine Cooper, did. And she assisted in the research that went into doing this video. So thank you to Juzzy for her assistance there. I also saw a video from attorney Andrew D. Myers on his channel about the book. He's read it and commented about it. And I'll link to that in the episode description below so you can check it out. And if you're not a subscriber to Andrew's channel, you really should. It's very good, legal, and analysis done in a good way. It's fun, as fun as that can be. But nonetheless, a great channel. If you're interested in Idaho 4, he's done Delphi, Murdoch, bunches of them. And I'm going to be interviewing him and his assistant Lainey on the podcast this week and be doing a video for you. Now, the book addresses 3 major events that Scott Green faced since taking the job as the president of the university in 2019. Now, he's originally from Moscow, Idaho, and so his roots in that area run deep. We also know his parents owned 1122 King Road, which is ironic, but now he's claiming he doesn't remember or he didn't live there. I'm not really sure about that, but that's what I believe I've heard the latest. But the fact that the house was owned by his parents, again, long before the incident happened, there was different owners at that time, but another just strange coincidence in a case of mounting bizarre coincidences, right? The book talks about how he dealt with this crippling financial crisis. The university was in tremendous debt. He turned it around, that's cool. He acquired the University of Phoenix last year. I thought it was strange, though, a nonprofit university acquiring a for-profit university. But, it's considered a good investment as investments go. It cost them $550 million. So when you talk about there's a lot at stake here to make sure this case gets wrapped up, there's a big target right there is $550 million on the line. Now, the other crisis in the book is how he managed to keep things going during the pandemic of 2020 And I'm sure his acquisition of the University of Phoenix was probably a good move because he probably thought, the fact that they were specialized in online training, which would be a thing if something like that happened again, or, we see the rise in that and just, people are able to do a lot online now, which is awesome. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with any of this stuff I just mentioned, okay? But the last crisis is where some people have the issue is, of course, Idaho 4. That's the last chapter of Scott Green's book. He talks about how he was involved in multiple briefings every day with the police about the investigation, but claimed they didn't inform him of the details of the investigation. That just doesn't make any sense. Why would you sit into 2 briefings at least a day, and then what, were you excused from the room when they talked about details? That makes absolutely no sense. And the bigger question is, what is the university president doing in that kind of environment? I mean, I could see making himself available for, public statements and press conferences, stuff like that. These were students that were killed, and it was awfully close to the university, property. So that makes sense, but immersing himself in the investigation is, to me, very strange. Now, writing a book like that about the case would certainly help, taint a jury if they weren't already tainted about this, especially coming from the president of the university, who is like the entire reason the town exists. I mean, you'd want to talk about an influence. I mean, it's unbelievable. And I mean, in my opinion, that was one of the reasons they rushed to pin this on somebody that wasn't an insider, an outsider. Not only that, somebody from another part of the country, the perfect patsy almost. And you have to wonder if it's because the fact that he was showing up at every briefing or, these investigation meetings that they were having. I mean, that would certainly turn up the heat if the president is pushing you to find somebody. So it just certainly makes you wonder. All right. Now, I did hear that he was donating, I'm not sure if it's all of the profits or some of the profits, to this memory garden that's supposed to go in the place of where the house was torn down. But I think it's nice that they're doing something like that. If that's truly what, where this money's going, I guess that, that's not such a terrible thing, right? But it also draws negative attention to Scott Green that says the university has now been more profitable after the tragedy. So makes you wonder, is he trying to capitalize on it? Again, I get the feeling he just wants to be the hero and show the world that he saved the university and this small town of Moscow, Idaho. It makes you wonder. Now, I live near a city that has 2 universities, and I don't see anything like this going on like I see here in Moscow. I mean, yes, those universities employ a lot of people, but they don't run the town. So, not in my opinion, at least. So it seems like it's a very unhealthy relationship. You've got the university entrenched, the police. I mean, the chief of police is a graduate. The prosecutor's a graduate. The judge is a graduate. I mean, it is really odd. I mean, it is like almost cult-like, in my opinion. So the University of Idaho made it clear, due to their immersion in the investigation, that they wanted a suspect quickly. And the fact that they arrested Brian Kohberger about 6 weeks after the crimes, right before the spring semester, certainly makes you wonder. I mean, all tied up nice with a bow on it. Seems a little too easy. I'm not sure exactly how they did it, and I fear that Brian Kohberger could be the patsy, kind of like a modern Lee Harvey Oswald. So I just hope that, something is going to, the evidence is going to come out and we're going to know what happened. But until then, I'm on the fence on this one. I don't know whether he's innocent or guilty. I don't want to believe in the conspiracy, but there's a lot of signs and past indiscretions by this police department that makes you wonder. Now, if the proceeds are truly going for this memorial garden, then that's great. But if there's some other reason, then they're no different than the YouTubers out there talking about this case, the news, anybody in the true crime game. So we know that, if it bleeds, it leads. Misery sells, and it's always been that way. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. Sure get some good discussion here. And I want to thank the members of the Horns High Club. I appreciate you guys and your support. And I appreciate all of you guys watching this. Thanks for another episode of 666 Seconds of Murder.